Hey everyone, this is UNN Field Messenger Liz LeClaire reporting from Fayetteville, North Carolina, USA. And I want to talk to something that super excites me today, which is sitting behind this computer because it's behind here that I work with clients. And I do energy medicine as a practitioner. And I really want to talk about this today. So, why? Well, we are made up of energy, vibration, and light. We are 0.99999, et cetera, percent energy, vibration, and light. And we're only 0.1% human body. So it's like we're we're so concerned with these shells we walk around, these avatars, but really we're mostly energy, subtle energy, vibration, and light. So I want to encourage you to explore it if you haven't yet. I want to encourage you to come up with your own field messenger reports to talk about what it is you do. I'm not trying to drum up clients. My way is not the only way. I'm just here sharing. So I want to share. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about it, about just some really fun stuff. So here we go. I, again, want to say that my way is not the only way to do it. I have been doing energy work and learning about energy work for 40 years. Folks, I have reached old fart status. So, I think about some things now and then. So I have put together, of all the trainings and certifications I've done, put together a system that really seems to work well with clients. I've treated over 1,000 clients with this system, and it's lovely. And again, mine's not the only way. I encourage you to do a field messenger, come up with your own, explore it, get a certification in something. So let's talk about at least my experience. So I have a friend, Renee, in Washington State, and we developed this system along the same lines. I am Wallace to her Darwin. So she calls it quantum rewiring, and so do I. With her permission, we both do very similar work. It's amazing how Source can download stuff to people, right? Anyway, so what mostly informs what I currently do is shamanic medicine. I'm a member of the Four Winds Society, where we do vision questing, where we actually quest and vision right into a client's subconscious and heal and help and pull back memories and issues and go in and tweak things on the client's behalf and do energy work and healing. And I also, the Army trained me as essentially a psychologist. And I use mostly the modalities of Dr. Richard Schwartz, who has a book called No Bad Parts. I recommend you read it. No Bad Parts. This is essentially internal family systems theory. The idea being that inside of you, you actually have a family too, not just your outside family of mom and dad and sister, brother, etc. And that actually we don't have a mono mind. We're actually created out of many, many parts. Some of them are blossomed or grown out of really good memories or trauma and events and painful things and injuries. And they might be, well, it might be like a balls of emotion too. I mean, they're also called aspects. Dr. Bradley Nelson might talk about them as balls of emotion. All right, so I use that in my work. Also, Dr. Gary Flint, I'm going to hold up his books. You can see it on a small screen, perhaps. Dr. Gary Flint had a process called the healing process method. I use his work so much. This is the theory and treatment of your personality, very thick psychological book, and then also healing your mind and soul. This is his second one. So, and I use his work to a great degree. And we're going to talk about it when I talk about my process. So, a lot of shamanic work and some psychology, and also Dr. Bradley Nelson's emotion and body code work. It's kind of similar where we're going in and removing painful things, whether you want to call it an inner child, you want to call it shadow work, you want to call it a ball of emotion, you want to call it a part or an aspect. And I also use the Silva method. Very powerful techniques there to help the client get into a nice, relaxed state. And I do Reiki style practices. There's many flavors of that out there, like quantum touch, healing touch, Marielle. That was the first thing I ever learned back when I was 18. And I also use yoga practice and philosophy to inform my approach, as well as like shamanic practice. And I do muscle testing and dowsing to kind of find my way around a person's subconscious. So let me talk about my process. Again, please do field messenger reports of your own. This is just what really jazzes me. So first of all, I'll talk to a client and find out their most pressing issues, or one or two or three. And it's obvious, right? They want to come and get help with something that's bothering them quite a bit. But also I've found that it's a great root system. So if you work what the subconscious is presenting, it can actually begin to heal and bring up other things. It's kind of like layers of an onion, you might say, where the initial trigger or the initial thing that's bugging the person now, if it's a car driving phobia, If it's I can't leave my house, or my ankle hurts, or I just don't want to be in a relationship because they done hurt me so bad, stuff like that. It begins to help all these other areas. So it's super important to do. And I might get a metric like on a scale of 1 to 10. And then I move the client into an alpha brain state, which is a light meditative state. I might take them to a deep alpha, but um, it's because number one, I can still talk to the client and coach them at their conscious level mind and instruct them to relax or think about something, as well as being able to coach and facilitate the rest of them, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So I can work with them at all three levels if I get them into an alpha state. They're relaxed. Sometimes I even dip into theta, which is like sleep. And then I coach the client's three minds. Well, what is that? Well, the three minds is a way, a modality or a system I use from Gary Flint, Dr. Flint, which is, he actually didn't use a superconscious mind, but we talk about the superconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind. There's a lot of ways to do this and talk about this, but this really works with clients. So why, right? So the superconscious mind, we can consider God, source, Holy Spirit, your higher self, your star soul, your soul star, something like that. So it has a lot of different names, but however you want to think about it. It's kind of like getting up and out of yourself into higher realms, if you will, higher densities. The conscious mind is the conscious mind, like we're talking together today, except I work with them in an alpha state. And the subconscious mind is where a lot of the light and the dark sit, where, you know, painful events, memories, traumas, injuries, um, bad experiences kind of sit. They kind of sit because they don't need to be in our active experience because they would disrupt our lives. Like if I'm going to make a cup of coffee and getting to work, I can't be thinking about what that very bad thing that happened when I was 5 or 10 or 12 or 25. We need to function. So it's not in our active experience. It's not necessarily part of the main personality that's out functioning, paying bills, eating food, talking to people, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of gets tucked down into the subconscious. But it comes into the active experience when humans are triggered, like, oh, that very bad relationship, he done cheated on me, she did that, he did that to me, they did whatever, the injury, the knee pains recurring because of that hike I took when I was 12. Um, um, Anything, like whether it's mental, emotional, or physical, spiritual. Oh, I'm not part of a new cult now, and they hurt me, and they're trying to control me. Whatever it is, when your trigger happens, other parts of you in the subconscious take over, and then they get the experience and the wisdom of handling the person's, they kind of take over the main experience. So who does that? Well, it's the parts. So I also coach their parts through muscle testing and dowsing. I discern how many are present with kinesiology, and I actually talk with them and treat them like sacred and spiritual beings. It turns out that often when a memory event, a painful event happens with a client or the person's life, a part will begin to take over, or parts will begin to take over and help the situation. But it's a very immature response, which is why we have acting out, or eating and drinking too much, drugging, unhealthy, really super unhealthy things, throwing things, yelling in an uncontrolled manner at someone, we call acting out. Those are the parts, because the parts often act like children because that's when the trigger happened. That's when the painful event happened, often. So, and these parts, by the way, think that they're still children. They might be like 10 years old in a schoolyard, having a fight in the schoolyard. And they would throw things and push and yell and scream and pitch a fit and stomp their feet and yell and stonewall and all these things that we do when we act out, or eat too much, drink too much, whatever it is. But the challenge is the parts get all the experience. And then when the situation resolves itself and the person gets back to a more normal state, they don't have the skills to handle the stress. So when the stressor comes again, the parts take over, and they take over the main personality. So my work talks to the parts, talks to the three minds of a client, and helps reintegrate all that. And I encourage and let the parts know that I see them as sacred and spiritual beings. And we're able to help them through a final vision quest or guided visualization, help them reintegrate. And then the clients will come back and go, wow, I can drive my car past 18 wheelers at 90 miles an hour now. Or I'm not angry at my husband anymore. Or, my ankle pain's gone. Or I'm sleeping much better. So because that tree of stuff Anyway, thank you for listening. I encourage you to post field messenger reports as well. Thank you so much for listening.